Hello. Today we're going to be discussing the VLOOKUP function in Microsoft Excel and how it can make your life a whole lot easier when it comes to comparing different spreadsheets using a common identifier such as an ID number. So, on our first tab of this spreadsheet, you can see that we've got the following pieces of data for each student. We have their ID number, their name, their grade, and their counselor. But this is just a very basic list. If we wanted to add to this list and begin building more of a tracking system so that we could see everything at a glance rather than referring to multiple spreadsheets and trying to make sense of it all, then the VLOOKUP function really comes in handy. So in this example, I've got another spreadsheet that I've copied and pasted into the second tab, which I've named Exam Scores. And here, very straightforward, exam score 1, 2, and 3. ID numbers are listed, but they're in a completely different order than what was on the first tab. So that could make it very complicated. And then on this last tab here, it's detention dates and the reason with the ID number. Again, no names are listed, and here you can see the list is much shorter. So these are just the students who have had detention out of the longer list. Now, before we're able to use the VLOOKUP function, we typically need to name the range. So we would highlight all of the data where we need to compare. So we're going to right-click and say Define Name. Here I've already done this. So Exam Scores is the name. Oh, since I've already done it, we'll make a new one. And detention, same thing. We need to define the name. And this just makes it easier rather than doing this really complicated range of A1 to C14. That doesn't sound so complicated, but if you have a lot of data, it can get confusing really quick. So let's come back to our first tab. Here we'd like to add the exam scores for Amy Andrews. So we'll start off in this first cell. We're looking for exam score 1, and just to refresh your memory, in our exam scores tab, it's the ID number, then exam score 1, 2, and 3 in each of those corresponding columns. So I'm going to type an equal sign, and then VLOOKUP is our function. So you can see it here, it was recently used. Typically if you click the function instead of typing it, you get more of a step-by-step pop-up that can really help you out. So let's click on A2, her ID number, as the lookup value. The table array is what I was talking about when I said you need to define the name. So here it will be exam scores 2. The column index number refers to what column number were the exam score 1 scores listed it, and that was 2 because it was right after the ID number, if you recall. In the last cell here, we're going to type false, and you can read through this and everything, but basically false is used quite frequently. It's an exact match of our formula results. Let's click OK and see what happens. Okay, great. So it came up as 88. I was actually sort of hoping that it wouldn't work because you can see here that I've formatted some of these to not be numbers. So let's go back and see if all of them work this well. I'm going to hover over the bottom right corner to get that plus sign and drag this formula down to the bottom of the list. Ah, here are those errors. So going back, this is very common that you'll get this error. And I can see these cells look a little different. They have this green sort of triangle in the upper left-hand corner. So you see this error message drop down. It says that it's formatted as text or preceded by an apostrophe. So we're going to go ahead and convert to number. Let's see what happened. Now everything's fixed. So we'll repeat this process over here. Let me try something really quick. Okay, I didn't think that would work. It's a lot of trial and error. So again, A2, exam scores 2 was the name of our table array. This time the column is 3 and false. Again, drag it down, and we'll repeat the process one more time. This time it's column 4, and again, false. Okay, now we're ready for that last tab and our data. As you can see, it's a shorter list. Not everyone got detention, thank goodness. But we're going to be looking for the detention date and the reason. So you can see the detention date is in column 2, reason is in column 3. So let's come back over. Equal sign, VLOOKUP, A2 for our lookup value. This time it was detention 2 as the table array name that we had defined. And the column index number in this case is 2. It was that second column that was the detention date, and we'll say false. Okay, so let's drag this down. It says NA because that person did not have detention. But then you see that the ones that did have these numbers listed, the reason being that this is not formatted as a date format. So we need to right-click, format cells, date, OK. Now you can see that. That worked out a little better. Okay, let's do the same thing for reason. This time, column 3. Okay. Drag it down. Now, you can still see the text. It looks fine. However, there is a way to make it so that you don't have these error messages, this hashtag n/a. And so I'm going to come over to the handy dandy internet, which is something that you will often do when you're trying to figure things out in Excel. It's a process of trial and error. And speaking of error, it's actually in our formula. So I'm going to right-click this example. It says to replace the NA error with a blank cell. If your searched value is not found, you can use this formula. Enter it into a blank cell and press enter to get the result you need. So let's try that. Coming back over, let's switch this out. Now you can see our values are not quite correct because this was an example from the internet. So it was A2 for her ID number, and then on our range, or what the cells that we were referencing, was detention 2 as the name of it. It was the second cell, false. Okay, enter. Oh, so that worked really well. So let's go ahead and drag everything down. I may need to redo the dates a little bit. Oh, nope, that worked just fine. So you can see that that's how it all comes together with the VLOOKUP function. I hope this was useful. Feel free to leave any comments below. Take care.